Welcome to the product team. On this episode of Product Driven, I'm interviewing Anton Zaides about the future of engineering and how we are all on the product team. Product managers' role is going to change a lot. I think engineering managers are going to have to act more like product managers. Software developers are going to have to act more like product owners. You can't have daily stand-ups every day when you can go use Cursor or something and write code 5 times faster. You'd have to have stand-up like every hour just to keep up and ask people questions. It's not going to work. The developer's going to have to know what needs to be done. We are all on the product team. Welcome to Product Driven. To survive and thrive, you must adopt a product-driven mindset. And we're back for another episode of Product Driven. This is your host, Matt Watson. Very excited to be joined today by Anton Zaides. He is an engineering manager in Israel, joining us today on the podcast, which is awesome. I always love interviewing people from all over the world. I found him on LinkedIn, has a lot of great content on his Substack, which is at manager.dev, about engineering leadership. And my key question for him was, how do we get software developers to better understand the business and understand the big picture? Because he wrote some great content along this. So, Anton, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, you, man. Glad to be here.
So one of the things we were talking about before we got started recording here is you're spending a lot of time writing code now using Cursor. And yeah. I guess I'd love to hear your quick take on Cursor and how you think that is also changing software development.
So yeah, it's been crazy 2 months for me. Like I always looked from the side, thought like, okay, it's getting better, something like that. But since I tried it, I think I really started to believe that it's not a 20-30% improvement. It will be like 3, 4, 5, 6x improvement or of the development time. And for me, like I launched 2 projects from scratch, purely vibe coding, 0 lines of code. I really believe that my experience in coding helped. Right, the prompts were much better, so I'm not think Cursor will replace us, but that made me think a lot about what will happen when my engineers can deliver 5x more. So I think that's part of my content that you saw.
Well, the challenge is most software developers only spend 20, 30, 40% of their time writing code, right? So really what's going to happen is the bottleneck moves. So if instead of spending 3 or 4 hours a day writing code, if I only spend 1 hour a day writing code, I have to spend more time talking to other people about what are we building? Do they like the thing I built in the hour? How do we test this thing? How do I get the feedback? How do I deploy it? Like the bottleneck moves. What do you think about that?
I think it's not only like the loops, there will be much more loops to close, right? Because if you can give Cursor instruction and get back feedback a lot, you need to understand much better what are you building and why. And you cannot go back and forth with the product manager, right? It's not possible. There will be no way like for you just to be a pipe for Cursor. You'll need to have all the context and you'll need to be able to make decisions that currently engineers don't make. They're like, okay, I build what you ask me and then what's next. So I think, yeah, I really feel the combination of, you have this trio, designer, product manager, engineering team, this is going to break and change. I'm not sure how will it land, but yeah, engineers will have to make much more decisions and for that understand much more context and business and product and customers.
Well, we've lived in this world where most software development projects take a minimum of a day. I mean, a lot of times they take days, right? So yeah. Checking in, having a sync call every day is enough to make sure, okay, are they on the same, are they going, yeah. Are we making progress? Do they need help, etc., right? Where to your point, now it's like, if the developers are moving way faster, it's like, would you need that sync call like every hour?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if the developers don't understand the big picture about why are we building this, what is the problem we're trying to solve, all that kind of stuff, they're dependent on everybody else. They have to ask everybody else for all of these questions about what are we trying to build, right? Where if, to your point, like if they can make the decisions themselves, if they get stuck, they can keep going. They're like, well, based on the conversation and I was in the product planning meeting and I understand this is the strategy of why we're trying to do it this way, so I think this is what we need to do. I'm just going to go this way, right? Where today, it just doesn't happen.
doesn't happen at all. Like in my experience, it's not only the fault of the engineers. Like the product managers want this control, right? Because they're the one making the decision. It's not like the engineers have autonomy and they are not using it. It's like everything is based on these roles and responsibilities. Product managers say what, engineers say how, and build it. And this is, yeah, it won't work in 2 years for sure. I think also in a year it will be, yeah,
Well, so
interesting to
how
see.
did you so the last company that you've been working for
Yeah,
was a smaller kind of
yeah,
startup, right? And
yeah.
so even in a smaller to mid-market company like that, how did they solve this problem? Like how were you guys trying to overcome these challenges with product managers and getting the developers to have more ownership of the product?
Yeah, so honestly, like this speed increase didn't affect us yet. So like I feel it's only in the last 1, 2 months the job adoption really surged. Before that, it was still, ChatGPT and stuff like that, but we didn't really feel an increase. But for me, yeah, as the manager, I really tried hard to get the engineers connected to the business side. For example, I work in the agtech company, right? So it's it's not like building a SaaS or Duolingo, right? You can understand as an engineer and think like a user. But if you're building for a US farmer in the Midwest, it's very hard to understand and sympathize. Also in most B2B places. And I tried really hard for that. I flew to the US multiple times. I invited the engineers to calls where I could, shared stories um, as far as I could. And with the product manager, we also had like a lot more responsibility to me as the engineering manager. So it was not yet to the developers. So I kind of did a lot of the project manager, especially in my last role as a director, which is more like ambiguous, I would say. As director, you can do whatever you decide to do. It's not like you have, as a manager, the fixed thing. So to sum it up, yeah, I think like get more responsibility from the product manager to the engineer manager, freeing the product manager to do whatever they like they always have lots of things they want to do, talk to customers, stuff like that, and also connect the engineers to the business side. I didn't find a good solution. Like it was like recording, being on calls, trying to talk. It worked. I don't know if you have better tips on getting them there. Yeah.
Well, I'm writing a book on this. I'm writing the product driven book, and I have a whole
Awesome.
chapter. I haven't finished this chapter yet about getting those feedback loops from potential customers, right? So, which could be like you said, on-site visits. It can be listening to sales calls. It can be actually talking to customers. Using screen recordings to watch people use the product. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can try and get insights into how people are using the product. Um,
I think that
and it,
those, like, my challenge was those are like they're technical, they work, but how do I make it an ongoing process where the
yeah,
engineers pull them and you don't push them on the engineers?
yeah.
Like they want them and they ask for them and they read industry newsletters and stuff like that. This is part I still
I think
struggle
it's
with.
I think it starts with the leadership, right? Like
Yeah.
leadership has to be sort of beating that drum on a weekly basis of, how do you get those insights from customers and continue to share them with the team and make that part of the culture, right? So one of our customers at Full Scale, I have an article. We did another product driven episode with him. Chris Borchers, you can look it up, was about demo day, how they do demo day as a company, and they invite basically the whole company, the CEO, and everybody to come to demo day. It's not like just a sprint retrospective where it's kind of a semi-pointless meeting. Like they do a demo day for the whole company, and now the developers can ask questions from other employees that are there, or the employees can ask questions to the developers, and they also know, like, hey, when we ship this product, I'm going to end up at this demo day demoing this myself to the whole company. Right? There's different things that people can do, and everyone is totally different. To your point, if you guys are building software that flies drones,
Yeah.
that's a whole different problem. You're like, well, how do we go fly this drone over some farmland and see how the product works? That's a bigger challenge, right? Like, by the way, when you came to the United States, where did you come?
So our offices are in Indiana. I
Okay.
came multiple times, and regarding the drone challenge, like one thing I understood after a year of management that I want to be able to fly those drones and experience it. So the first visit to the US, I went to the FSA, I did the commercial drone pilot license, studied for a week, took the test, and then actually like experienced flying for our customers, like doing an operations job for a full day, like in the sun to see how it works. And then when I came back, I actually did it with my team. Like I am licensed to do that now. And I think that was a huge step. And people are like, why would you spend like the company money and training to get a, but I think it was a huge step and people really enjoyed it because drones, all the fun that working as drone companies, you can fly the drones, right? And those are, each drone is like $30,000 and it's huge, like, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds at least. And you cannot fly them without license. It's expensive equipment. So doing that step was great. But in later visit, I drove to Kansas, like 10 hours. It was.
That's where I am, Kansas.
Huh? You are?
That's where I am, Kansas.
Cool. So there was this, I don't know the name of a very small town, there is Ag Partners, Agriculture Co-op. Not, it's similar to ayahuasca, but it's not this name. I remember the name.
That's okay.
It was a very small place, yeah, in Kansas.
So learning to do the drone stuff yourself, do you think, can you looking back, like, do you really see a lot of value, the fact that you did that? You took the extra time to go do that, and you came to Kansas, you came to Indiana. I mean, looking back, do you really see like, oh, then when I met with my team later, like it really helped me make smarter decisions about how we were building the product?
Yes, 100% sure. I think it's in two different places. First of all, like internally in the company, suddenly I got more respect and involved in the conversation. Because even in the preparation for the test, like our operations team, like helped me and joked with me, and like having the full day make me a bit one of the team, right? And not like someone from Tel Aviv offices that is only doing computer stuff, but someone who actually came and did the work and understand what they're talking about. So this made me like help me influence the decision much more, like because the product managers didn't do it and I did, so it kind of shifted a bit the balance. I felt they definitely should, but didn't want to. And for my team,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think this is the first aspect, like with the company and with my team for sure. We did like a full day in Israel when we took a cornfield, and then I took the whole team. I actually did it twice because people changed stuff like that, and a full day trying to simulate this experience, and people really, really enjoyed it. Doing like end to end, starting from uploading a field, like everything that the farmer is doing, right? Because like dog fooding is very, very hard when it's real business with tractors and fields and drones. It's not like open an app. But I think that if we were able to dog food our own app, everyone can, right? We spend a lot of time to create these demo scenarios and flying it and uploading images and AI and stuff like that. But it was really fun. And people like still remember it and like think back to that experience when you develop a feature and you kind of see how it used, like small things, the laptop is in the sun, right? So everything in the colors and the visibility is different. The battery is draining very fast, so you need to take it into consideration and not do like things in the background all the time. Small things like that really affect the user experience, and it's not that easy for people to request, like the battery thing, right? I don't know if like they would have said, please make our battery last longer, right? Because our app is heavy, it's Electron app, it's doing a lot of things, but once you feel it and you do a whole day, you kind of think about it. So I think it's like I can trace it to few decisions consciously, but I think there are many others that I don't even understand how it helped me, but I'm pretty sure it did.
So one of the other chapters in my book is about empathy and about how that's one of the most important things for software developers. And I think you just highlighted that, right? It's like now all of a sudden you have empathy for your users. You're like, now I understand like how bright the sun is and they have to travel all the way out here and their laptop battery is going to die. Like now I have more empathy for them than I didn't have when I was just sitting in my office every day and I didn't really understand my user and really what they do. And I feel like that is the biggest problem is like as developers, we just don't understand our users are. We don't empathize for them. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think I also called it care, right? Like it's almost the same, but because when you care about the quality and the result, it's all like the only way to care is to think about your customer. If you develop it for someone anonymous that like somewhere and you don't have any connection, you will not care. And like for me, that's being empathetic and caring. Like that's what you make wake up in the morning. Like what's the point of writing software and you don't like know who will use it and how and who are you helping? Like I don't know. Personally, I don't want to write software to make money. Right? I really want to help people, and I think many engineers do, and they're kind of used to just not feeling this impact, and the empathy goes both ways. Like when you empathize, you get the feedback loop, right? People say thank you, like grateful for you, and then like this is charge you up, and you want to feel more feedback, and you want to get more input. So it's a great cycle, yeah.
Well, and I would point out it's important to care about your users and have empathy for your users. But what really matters, I think, even more is understanding their problems, right? Like, you have to understand, like, yeah, this guy who's using your product, has to use the drones. He's worried about his battery life. He's worried about the, visibility in the sun. He's worried about all these things. Like, you have empathy for that. But you also have empathy for, like, what is he actually trying to accomplish? What is his job? What is his goal in life? What is his problem, right? It's not just about your software. It's not just about the user. It's about understanding their problems, right? Because ultimately, that's the reason they bought the product, is because they're trying to solve their problems. And the more you empathize all the way to their problems, the better product you can build. Because you're like, now I understand, like, and it could be for him. His problem is, like, this person's in a remote place. He has no battery life. He drove all the way out here. He's exhausted. He's not very good at using a drone, but it's just his job. He's trying to figure it out. How do we make it easier for him? Like, understanding all the way to this person's problems and understanding kind of their psychology of, like, a day in the life of them, like what they are trying to accomplish, right? Because they ultimately don't care about your software. They care about solving their problem, whatever their problem is.
I agree, and I think it's very, very hard to do. Honestly, in my experience, it's like a step up from caring about them as persons. Understanding like this. It's just like, even more like for internal users, right? For example, the drone pilots I shared are not like our customers. They are delivering to our customers. They're taking the images, like freelancers that we hire, and I feel like it happens. For platform teams also. I don't know if your book covers it. Like for having like stakeholders in your company, starting with empathy for them. Like I think like for the customer, understanding their problem, that's the ideal goal, right? That's what usually product managers do. But I would start with just better understanding the pain point of everyone you're serving, like inside, and if you have access to customers, right? But to really understand the problem, you need to talk a lot with customers, and the engineers just don't do it. Like they don't have access, or is it like hard to get the customers? The customers don't always want to talk to engineers. I know, like, Kansas farmers, they don't really want to talk to us, honestly. It's like, you're busy.
Software developers are very introverted too. Most software developers are more introverted.
That's true. That too, but it's not like, I think I was not like alive back then, but 30, 40 years ago, where it was like, software developers were much smaller clique, and it was like, here it's like, I don't think I'm not sure this stereotype is right anymore. I think like a lot of software developers are, especially like like product engineers, they're not really that introvert. Like
we're not dorky computer nerds.
I think this stays, like this stereotype stays, but honestly, I don't think so. No, I think like if you compare to the average population, we are a bit like dorkier and introverted than the average. Not that much. Like you have crazy software engineers, you have like you have everything. Party going software engineers, you have like all the types right now. It's quite a huge profession. So I don't think it's an excuse to say like they're introverts. No, they're people. You need to give them opportunities. They want to talk with other people.
Well, and you started publishing on Substack, which again is at manager.dev, and you've got 17,000 followers there, and you're posting every week and doing this. And a lot of developers, I feel like, are a little more timid, a little more scared to talk to people. Like they don't want to get out in front of everybody and go talk to people. And I guess I'm first curious what led you to do that with your Substack and stuff. Like what got you like, okay, I'm going to go tell the world about what I know. I know. How do you get over like I'm not worried about what everybody thinks. I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna tell people what I know. Like, and this is a problem that all developers have, even when just talking to users.
Yeah,
Like, how do I put myself out there?
I think
What led
it's
you down that journey?
I think it's a problem every person has, not just developers. Like
Yeah,
it's not like
it is.
unique to us, but and I didn't get over it. I'm still figuring it out. But honestly, my
I'm
trigger
still
was
terrified.
no, sometimes like when you had like bad feedback on your post or like in LinkedIn especially when you write on LinkedIn, like people like say it's kind of cringe and get some feedback. Like from my closest friends, it was like, what are you doing, man? Why are you doing that? And actually, random people supported me more. But I went through the trigger was there was engineering management workshop we did in our company, which was led by an organizational consultant, and she never worked in tech and she never managed people. And it was 20 hours of like doing the urgent, non-urgent metrics and tools that I will never use in my work. And I was like, okay, I want to help other engineering manager. And I feel like the only way is by people that actually experience it. I cannot learn from someone who never experienced my job,
Yeah.
like by text of things. Like, and the books I've read, the great ones are by engineering managers. Like Will Larson and James Tanner, like those are the books I learned a lot, not just general books. So I felt like, okay, I am currently feeling it. Oh, and the problem, I think, not to be critic of you, but many people who write the books are already far from being the engineer managers. They are like CTOs or CEOs, and they go from the holistic view and don't really remember how it is to directly manage engineering team. What do you feel on the day to day? And I felt that right now when my challenges are raw and I feel this, I will write better content than in 10 years when I have the credential and experience, stuff like that, when I could write to senior leaders. So I was like, okay, let's try. And I got some good feedback. And I kind of continued, yeah, and really enjoyed it. Still enjoying it, but yeah, the thing is putting yourself out. This is still hard. I don't do video, for example. I know it's like
Okay.
good for the algorithm. I like podcast. I hope people only listen to the audio, but I like the text part. This is like my comfort zone. You don't really see me. You
I'm
don't
with
hear
you.
me.
We did start the product driven YouTube channel, so you can check us out on YouTube. And we currently once a week we publish these sort of interviews, and then once a week we do a solo video that I record by myself. And so
So how did you overcome it? Like video is much harder than text.
it was definitely weird at first. I've done probably close to 1,000 podcast interviews like this, but
Oh wow.
yeah, doing just a single video content was different. But I needed to do it for my company too. Like, how do we create training videos and sales material and different things? So it's like I need to do this for multiple different reasons. I've got to get over it. I've got to do it. I've got to get on camera. But I think going back to the developer part of this for a minute, if you're a developer and you're kind of nervous about talking to other people, even let's say you're nervous about posting on LinkedIn, you're nervous about, even internally in your company talking to other people. I think the right mentality is to just be excited about whatever it is you built and just be excited to go tell other people about it. Just be excited about, I built this thing. I want to tell you about this cool thing that I built. Like, just be excited about the cool thing that you built, and other people will be excited because you're excited. Just go talk to people about the cool thing that you built, and it'll go great. Like, some people may look at you like, okay, this dude's kind of a nerd. He's telling me about this JavaScript thing he did and whatever. But just be excited about whatever it is you built and just go tell people about it. Like, if you can't do that at a minimum, like, just be excited. People will love your excitement. Trust me.
I completely agree, and I think like as a first step, I would say like use your manager, like do it, but try like something you want to talk with non-tech people, go to your manager and practice it or whatever, or ask and get some good feedback about it, so you understand it interesting. But I agree, if you like, it's hard to fake the excitement, and if you're not excited about something, try to talk about something else, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not like you talked about demo days. Very often, like demo days are like people. We had like a rule in our demo days, like every team needs to present something visual. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're doing like 2 months of backend work, and then you kind of find some way to display it in a dashboard or something, and like people are not really excited about it, and go to a diagram, and like they know everyone
No.
is bored, if you know people be bored, like don't talk about, just don't, and then like find something else and skip talking, like right. But yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity for building that
So as,
excitement. Yeah,
so as we
sorry, go
round
ahead.
out the episode today, there's one other specific topic I wanted to make sure we touched on.
Hmm.
Um, how do you feel about engineering managers and product managers and the future of that? And is that role going to have to combine? Like, part of my book is about the fact that product and engineering has to be one team. It cannot be us versus them. And you can't have software developers, as I put it, like hiding under the skirt of the product manager. Like they can't hide behind the product manager anymore, right? Like the developers have got to be like owners. Like they've got to be product owners of at least of whatever part of the system that they work on. They've got to take more ownership, right? But how do you see this for engineering leadership? And I have to say, I had this epiphany the other day, and maybe it's really not that much of a ground breaking epiphany, but that the CEO and the chief technology officer of every company also has to be a product manager, especially in a startup. Like if you're in a startup, the executive team has to be product managers. It does not work in any startup if you have a CEO and a CTO that don't have the product vision, that don't understand what you're building. Like this role of the product manager, I think, is becoming more and more distributed. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have somebody in your team that is a classically more trained product manager that helps drive the process and knows the tools and knows how to do a roadmap the right way and understands like all these things. But it feels like the overall sentiment of what we're building and why has to be distributed to everybody.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this will take quite some time. Like, I don't know, it's not in the last next year or two, but in my opinion, like, it's not that the role will be combined, it's that the product manager will be distributed part to the engineering manager and part to the engineers. So the engineers will take some of the roles and the engineering manager will take like more of the annoying things, right? Like the technical things, and but the engineers will be the one deciding. For me, like my first role as engineer manager was like in also like in the DevOps area, right? And there are not really product managers in the DevOps area, like barely. And I feel like it was okay. I was the product manager myself for a while, and I don't know, I managed, I enjoyed it actually. So yeah, I think it'll combine, but I think there is still space for like outbound product manager because like there is a limit of how much engineer manager can also talk to customers and
Yeah.
go everywhere. So I think there is a role that, but it will not be like uh, inbound product managers. You just need to sync the roadmap, and it will be like more
And and
industry
and
expert.
maybe a big part of it is changing how companies do requirements, right? Instead of the product managers or maybe even product owners driving more of the requirements, it's like, hey, more of that part has to shift to the engineering managers or the engineers and the engineering managers even. And it's like then maybe the product managers need to be more focused on like product strategy and a little less in the weeds of the details every day. And the developers have got to take more ownership of understanding like the requirements and what's being built. Because basically, if you're using something like Cursor, you've got to understand that, right? You've got to understand all the requirements. How is it supposed to work? And I can build the prompts and I can put it into Cursor and it'll write 90% of the code and then I debug it for an hour or whatever and fix whatever the bugs are. But I've got to understand what we're building and why. Like I have to understand the requirements and be able to adapt, right? If the requirements don't make sense or they miss something in the requirements, like I have to be able to understand that, see that as we started the conversation, right? Very quickly adapt and be like, oh, this is missing in our original plans. We didn't think about this thing. I know what to do. Boom, right?
Yeah, and I think like the requirements is like the bare minimum. What, as you said, like what problem are we solving? Bigger than the requirements, because I think engineers will be need to be able to change the requirement themselves without
Yeah.
consulting with anybody. So you need to understand it, but you need to understand what the requirements are solving. And a lot of engineering team don't have like a clear metric or business goal connection. It's much more um, disorganized. So I completely agree. I'm curious to see how it goes, honestly. I think it's the perfect time to be engineering manager, like right now, because it's like people say engineers would be replaced. I don't think they will, but somebody will need to manage all this extra productivity, right? Somebody will need to, and the best person will be someone who actually also understand tech, because I don't think it's feasible, like in the upcoming years, that there will be no need for anybody who understands the code. There will be disasters. I'm sure there will be disaster stories by people who, like, security breaches and failures and whatever not. So somebody needs to at least understand. And engineering manager, there are people who already have some inclination to business side and management. So I think like we are in the sweet spot of like being a part product manager, a part engineer, and kind of
everybody's got to have this product thinking, product mindset.
Yeah.
So thanks for advertising the product driven channel.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
So can you use Cursor to build software to fly drones?
Yes, actually,
Cursor,
we use DJI.
Fly this drone.
You have an SDK by DJI, like the drone we use, so you definitely can. It's very hard to test. Like the simulator is shit, but you can do the basics. Yeah.
That's
Then
fun.
you need to actually go to the field.
Well, Anton, thank you so much for doing this today. It's amazing to interview people from all over the world and understand, the problems that we see are universal all across the industry. And even for you working in a company in Israel, like you're servicing customers here in Kansas.
Yeah.
Like you're building software for people in Kansas to help with farmland and all this stuff.
In Hiawatha, I remember. Hiawatha.
Okay. And our world is so connected, when it comes to tech. And again, everybody should go check out manager.dev.
Thank you.
Product Driven is also on YouTube. We're also on Substack. It's substack.productdriven.com. You can also go to productdriven.com and find all my links to all my different socials and things. And I'll definitely be putting in a recommendation for your Substack, Anton, and great content. And thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you so much. Excited for your book, Matt. Good luck with that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Before we wrap up today's episode, we have a special resource for you if you're looking to elevate your development team to have more of a product-driven mindset. I have a fantastic free ebook about turning your code-first team into a product-first team. Please go to fullscaleteam.com/product-first-teams to download this free ebook. There's also a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Product Driven, and we'll see you in the next episode.